wondered, like I have, how is it that some Singaporeans are so wealthy while most are stuck with the constant struggle of high cost of living? We were taught to study hard, get a good job, work harder, and you'll be successful. But by now you probably realize that it isn't true. What is it that these wealthy people know that we don't? And then I came across these two books, Rich Dad Poor Dad and the Almanac. I discovered 3 powerful lessons from this book. It was like a light bulb moment. They completely changed how I think about building wealth and achieving freedom. Today I'll share how these lessons reshaped my mindset, helping me move from constantly feeling stuck to finally understanding how this game of wealth is played. If you ever felt stuck or overwhelmed by rising costs in Singapore, I hope these lessons could change your perspective like they did for me. Lesson 1. The rich don't work for money, they make money work for them. One of the most important lessons from Rich Dad Poor Dad is this: the rich don't work for money, they make money work for them. Naval Ravikant expands on this by saying, you're not going to get rich by renting out your time. You must own equity, a piece of business. Here's why it matters. Most of us are taught to work hard, earn a paycheck and save. But here's the problem. If your income depends on your time, you're limited by how many hours you can work. No matter how much you earn, time is finite. For many, this limitation becomes even more frustrating when paired with the rising cost of living and inflation, where working hard doesn't even seem enough to make a difference. Now think about this. Imagine you're a business owner. Making your money work for you essentially means hiring staff to help you scale your revenue. Let's say you're running a business and you can personally only handle about 10 clients a month, generating about $10,000 in. Now, if you hire an assistant or a team member for $4,000 a month, they could help you manage maybe another 10 clients, effectively doubling your capacity and increasing your revenue to $20,000. The beauty of this approach is that it's all about margins. As long as your team helps you generate more revenue than they cost, you're effectively multiplying your income without overloading yourself. So what if you're not a owner? Then your next best alternative is to invest into a business. When you invest in a business, you own a piece of a company, also known as stocks or shares. As the company grows, so does your money redirect, requiring more of your time. If you own real estate, rental income flows in every month with forms of capital appreciation if you make the right decisions. These assets work for you 24/7 even when you sleep. This is called leverage, making your money work for you instead of the other way around. So here's a key question to ask yourself. Are you working for money or is your money working for you? The moment I asked myself this, everything started to change. Lesson 2. Understanding assets versus liabilities. In Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki emphasizes this. An asset puts money into your pocket, a liability takes out money out of your pocket. This distinction sounds simple, but most get it wrong and get stuck. Let's break it down. Liabilities. These are the things that cost you money. For example, in Singapore, owning a car might feel like a sign of success, but with COE, costs, fuel maintenance and insurance, and it often becomes a liability. Assets. These are things that grow your money to generate income. For instance, stocks, REITs, or even property investments in Singapore, they are strong assets that appreciate over time and provide returns and income. Let me illustrate this even clearer and how understanding this can make the world of difference in your wealth. So imagine you have $50,000 cash in your hand, extra $1,000 a month in cash flow, and you decide to either invest it or to buy a car. Let's see what happens in 10 years time. If you invest $50,000 and you add $1,000 every month, growing at 10% annually, your investment will have grown to $340,000 in 10 years. That's your money working for you. That's an asset. But if you buy a car with the same $50,000, including $1,000 per month for loan and maintenance, the value of car, let's just say, it drops at 10% a year because of depreciation. After 10 years, not only will the car be worthless, but you have spent more than $120,000, turning it into a liability. Yes, I understand sometimes a car is essential, especially when you have kids or elderly parents. Not to shy away from getting a car if you really need it for your family, but rather make an informed decision and be very clear and aware of your trade-offs. Ravikant simplifies this concept beautifully. Wealth is assets that earn while you sleep. This was my turning point. These were the questions I asked myself. Am I building assets that grow, or am I collecting liabilities that drain resources? Lesson number 3. Understanding inflation and how it leads to cash being short-term safe but long-term risky, and stocks being short-term risky but long-term safe. Another critical insight from Rich Dad Poor Dad and Naval Ravikant is understanding the impact of inflation and what Robert Kiyosaki calls fake money. Have you ever heard of the saying, cash is king? It might feel true in the short term, but over time, inflation quietly erodes its power. At the same time, stocks often feel risky at first, but can be your safest place to park your money in the long run. Let me show you why inflation flips the script on what feels safe and what truly is. Let's start with cash. It's comforting, predictable and stable, at least for now. But here's the catch. Inflation. Inflation is like a silent tax that makes your money worth less every year. Imagine you have $10,000 in your savings, earning 0.5% interest. If inflation averages 3% annually, your purchasing power shrinks by 2.5% each year. In 20 years, if you have $100,000 saved, will be worth only half. So while cash feels safe in the short term, over decades it is one of the riskiest places to store wealth because you're guaranteed need to lose your money. Cash protects you from volatility but not from inflation, which is even more devastating. Now let's talk about stocks. Stocks are often called risky because their price fluctuates daily. In the short term, markets react to news, sentiment, global events, causing sharp up and downs. It's natural to feel anxious when you see your portfolio drop 10% in a week, but short-term volatility doesn't mean long-term loss. In fact, the S&P 500, a benchmark for the US stock market, has delivered an average annual return of about 10% per annum over the past century. Even with market crashes, over the 20-year rolling period, the S&P 500 has never delivered a negative return. The risk of stocks diminishes the longer you stay invested because time smooths out volatility and amplifies growth through compounding. This is where the perspective shifts. Cash is stable in the short term but loses value over time due to inflation. Stocks, on the other hand, feels unstable in the short term but grows exponentially over time. Here's an analogy. Cash is like an ice cube. It stays solid in the freezer in the short term, but as time goes out and you leave it out, it melts away. Stocks is like planting a tree. In the beginning, it's small, fragile, exposed to the sky and the sea and whatnot, but as the years goes by, it grows stronger, provides shade and bear fruits, becoming one of your most valuable assets. This is why long-term investors turn to stocks to outpace inflation and build wealth. Over decades, the growth of businesses and economies ensures that stocks increase in value, even accounting for inflation. Understanding this, you can make smarter financial decisions that protect and grow your wealth. The real risk isn't in the markets, it's doing nothing and letting inflation silently steal your future. Start thinking about your long term and let your money work for you and not against you. Let's recap for today's video. Lesson 1. The rich don't work for money, they let money work for them. Lesson 2. Understanding the difference between an asset and a liability. Lesson 3. Leverage on inflation rather than have it work against you. Building wealth isn't about working harder, it's about working smarter. It's about recognizing how the system works and using it to your advantage. Thank you for watching today's video. It's helpful for you and useful for you like it did for me. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more videos like this if you enjoyed today's one.